You know the words. You know they're right. But when you use them together, it just sounds wrong. And you have no idea why.
I'm Claire, and that was like my entire English journey until recently, honestly.
I'm David. And yeah, same thing. I'd overthink every single phrase.
So, what are we actually talking about here? Is this a grammar thing? A vocabulary thing? What am I missing?
It's honestly neither. It's collocations. Words that just naturally go together. In English and every language, really.
Okay, but isn't that just learning the language? Doesn't it all kind of happen naturally if you're around it?
That's the thing, though. It doesn't always. You can memorize make and decision separately and still never naturally say, make a decision together.
Oh, wait. That's actually a really good point. I never thought about it that way before.
Exactly. Make a decision is a collocation. Take a decision isn't English. Do a decision definitely isn't. They just aren't.
So it's like certain words are just meant to be together, like they're a package deal kind of thing?
Yes. And the wild part is, native speakers know this completely unconsciously. They just feel which combinations are right without thinking about it at all.
That's probably why it feels so weird when someone gets it wrong. It just doesn't sit right, even if you can't explain why.
Completely. Like if someone says heavy traffic, that's perfect. But thick traffic just feels off, even though thick and heavy mean almost the same thing.
Okay, so how do you actually learn these? Is it just exposure, watching movies, reading, that kind of thing?
That's part of it, yeah. But honestly, you can be around English for years and still miss common collocations if you're not paying attention to them specifically.
So you kind of have to actively notice them, like consciously focus on word combinations as a separate thing?
Exactly. Once you start noticing, make a decision, take a risk, have a conversation, they're everywhere. And using them correctly changes everything about how natural you sound.
That makes sense. So it's not that you're bad at English. You're just missing this one layer that native speakers absorb without trying.
That's actually the perfect way to frame it. It's not a weakness, it's just a blind spot. And once you know it's there, you can work on it deliberately.
What are some of the most common ones people mess up? Do you have any examples where English speakers make specific mistakes?
Oh man, so many. Make an effort versus do an effort. Nobody says do an effort. Take a shower versus make a shower. Catch a cold, not catch a sickness. The list goes on forever.
That last one's wild because those mean the same thing. Why is one right and one isn't?
Because English speakers just decided centuries ago that you catch colds and catch diseases and catch feelings. It's history and habit, basically.
So there's not really a logical reason. It's just what sounds natural to native speakers because that's what they've heard forever.
Exactly. And here's the thing that's actually encouraging. Once you learn the right collocations, they stick because they feel right when you use them.
Okay, so if someone's learning English right now and wants to get better with collocations, what's the actual move? What do they do?
Pay attention when you read or listen. When you see a phrase that sounds natural, write it down. Put effort in. Take time. Build confidence. Notice the combination.
And then, are there certain words that are like collocation hubs? Like words that combine with tons of other words?
Great question. Make is one of the biggest. Take is another. Have. Get. Do. These super common verbs combine with everything. Make progress, make sense, make a mess, make friends. Just endless combinations.
Okay, so if I master those common verbs and their collocations, that's like a shortcut to sounding more natural?
100%. Because those verbs show up constantly in normal English. They're not fancy or literary. They're just everywhere in how people actually talk.
And I'm guessing different languages have different collocations too, like it's not universal?
Totally different. In Spanish, you catch a bus. In English, you take a bus or catch a bus. But they're slightly different. In French, it's take a taxi. All different logic.
So that's why English learners from different countries mess up different collocations?
Exactly. A Spanish speaker might say, catch a taxi, because that's how they think. A French speaker might say something else. Everyone's just translating their native system.
That makes total sense. Like, you're not thinking about the English. You're just translating your thinking pattern from your native language.
Right. And that's actually not a weakness. It's totally normal. Every single language learner does this. You work with what you know until the new patterns stick.
So recognizing that pattern helps you actually fix it instead of just feeling frustrated about it.
Exactly. Once you know you're translating a Spanish collocation into English incorrectly, you can stop and correct it. That awareness is everything.
Is there like a list somewhere? A master collocation list people can study from?
There are dictionaries and lists, yeah? But honestly, the best way is still exposure plus conscious attention. Read, listen, notice patterns, write them down, practice them.
So it's not like you can just memorize a list and be done.
No, because collocations live in context. You need to see them used, understand why they go together, and then use them yourself until they become automatic.
That actually sounds less scary than I thought it would be. Like it's a learnable skill, not just something you either get or you don't.
Exactly. And the cool part is, once you start noticing collocations, you'll see them everywhere. Your brain basically rewires to pick them up automatically.
So like, how long does that usually take? How long before someone's really solid with English collocations?
Depends. If you're actively studying them and using them, maybe 3 to 6 months to see real improvement. If you're just hoping exposure does it, could be years.
And is there like a beginner's pack, the most essential collocations to learn first?
Start with the verbs I mentioned. Make, take, have, get, do. Then add collocations for common topics. Work, relationships, emotions, daily activities, money. That covers like 80% of what you need.
So you're saying if someone focuses on those core ones first, they're going to see the biggest improvement?
Absolutely, because those combinations show up in everyday conversations constantly. Master those and people will notice you sound way more natural.
And I guess once you've got that foundation, then you can level up to like more advanced or specific collocations?
Yeah, business English has different collocations. Literary English has different ones. Academic English is different too. But get the foundation solid first.
That makes total sense. Layer it step by step instead of trying to learn everything at once.
Right. And the thing is, once you understand how collocations work as a concept, learning new ones becomes so much easier because you know what to look for.
Is there like a difference between learning collocations and learning idioms? Because those feel related, but not quite the same.
Good catch. Collocations are combinations that make sense. Make a decision follows the rules of English. Idioms don't. Raining cats and dogs doesn't actually mean anything literal. That's the difference.
Oh, okay, so collocations are like the natural combinations, and idioms are the weird random phrases?
Exactly. Collocations are learnable through pattern recognition. Idioms you kind of just have to memorize because they don't follow any logic.
So should people learn both or focus on collocations first?
Collocations first, 100%. They're way more useful in everyday conversation. Idioms are fun, but they're less essential. Get the foundation strong first.
That's good to know. Makes the whole thing feel less overwhelming.
Yeah, and honestly, once you nail collocations, idioms become easier too, because you understand how English really works underneath.
So like, if someone really gets this and applies it, how much would it actually change how people perceive their English ability?
Hugely. The difference between someone who speaks grammatically correct but awkward English and someone who sounds natural is usually collocations. It's what separates good English from fluent-sounding English.
That's huge. That's the difference between sounding like a textbook and sounding like an actual person.
Completely. And what's wild is, a lot of people never focus on this specifically. They just keep grinding grammar and vocabulary and wonder why they still don't sound natural.
Because they're missing the piece that ties it all together.
Exactly. Collocations are that glue. They're what makes all the grammar and vocabulary you know actually work together naturally.
And do you think, like, if English learners knew about this earlier, would it change how they approach learning?
Absolutely. A lot of frustration would disappear. They'd realize it's not that they're bad at English. They just need to pay attention to a different layer.
So, what's like the first thing someone should do tomorrow if they want to start working on this?
Pick one collocation verb. Make is easy. Start noticing every time you see it combined with a noun. Make a difference. Make a plan. Make time. Write them down. That's it.
Just noticing, that's the first step?
Noticing is everything. 90% of learning collocations is just becoming aware they exist as a thing. Once you're aware, the rest happens naturally.
That's really empowering, actually. Like, I don't have to stress about memorizing some giant list. I just need to pay attention differently.
That's exactly it. Your brain is already wired to pick up patterns. You just have to point it at word combinations specifically instead of treating them as just random vocabulary.
Okay, that actually changes how I think about this whole thing. It feels doable now.
And that's the shift that matters. Once you realize collocations are a learnable, observable pattern, it stops feeling like magic and starts feeling like a skill.
Can you give like a practical example of how someone would actually notice and learn a collocation in real time?
Sure. Say you're reading an article about someone starting a company. You see launch a startup used 3 times. Your brain picks it up. You think about it. Later, you catch yourself thinking, start a startup, and you notice the difference. That's the moment.
So you're literally building the awareness by noticing when you almost get it wrong?
Exactly. You're training your ear to recognize the right combinations by actively comparing them to what feels off. That contrast is what sticks the pattern in your brain.
That's actually genius. You're using your own language instinct against itself in a good way.
Right. Every native speaker does this unconsciously from childhood. English learners just have to do it consciously and deliberately for a while until it becomes automatic.
So it's the same process, just intentional instead of automatic.
Exactly. And that's why deliberate practice works so much better than hoping exposure does it all for you.
So like, beyond just make, are there other verbs that are just as important to start with?
Yeah, absolutely. Take is huge. Take a chance. Take care. Take time. Take a risk. And have is massive too. Have a conversation. Have a problem. Have a meeting. Start with those 3.
So just those 3 verbs and their combinations could genuinely improve someone's English a lot?
More than you'd think. Because you're not just learning the collocations. You're rewiring how your brain approaches English. You're starting to think in patterns instead of individual words.
And once that switch happens, I guess it gets easier to notice other collocations too?
Completely. It's like your brain develops this new muscle. Suddenly you're aware of combinations everywhere. Podcasts, books, movies, conversations. It all becomes learning material.
That's actually really motivating. Like, it's not this endless grind. Once you get it, it becomes automatic.
Exactly. And the beautiful part is, every single person who's learned English well has gone through this exact process. You're not doing anything unusual. You're just doing it intentionally and with awareness.
That's a really encouraging way to think about it. Like you're not reinventing the wheel, you're just being smarter about how you learn.
Exactly. You're hacking the same process that native speakers use naturally, but doing it on purpose and faster.
And you're already on that path just by knowing this exists now. That's the real advantage.
100%. Start tomorrow. Pick make. Notice every collocation. Write it down. Use it in a sentence. That's the whole game right there.
So, if people want to really dive into this and understand how to use English in a way that actually sounds natural and doesn't just follow rules, where do they go?
We break this down way deeper on the podcast. Every episode we hit something specific that changes how you actually use English. Not just grammar drills, real stuff that matters.
Yeah, stick around. We go way deeper into how native speakers actually talk and think about language. It's totally different from what textbooks teach.
And honestly, once you get how collocations work, you realize there's so much more to natural English than anyone really talks about. It's absolutely worth paying attention to.